Hi, good morning, everyone. Today is March 21st. This is the Jupyter Dev meeting. Today, we'll go off our notes in Dropbox paper. We're still really liking Dropbox paper, so we'll probably stick with this for quite a while. Let's look at the action items first from last week. We had a couple, 3 action items from last week. Matthias had 2 of these. Looks like you're still looking for feedback for the REPL implementation. Do you want to comment on that, Matthias? How much more feedback do you need?
Nathaniel gave me some feedback, and I almost rewrote everything. It's better, faster, cleaner, more documented. So if you want to give it a try, or just review the code and tell me where I have mistakes in my documentation or where it's unclear, that would be great.
Great. Thanks. And then the next one is you're looking for some thoughts on what Qt API versions IPython should support. So are there individuals on the team that you would really like feedback from?
Fernando pitched in a couple of hours ago or a couple of minutes ago. I've just seen a response, which is like relatively long, and people have already upvoted. So I will try to find some time to implement his proposal.
Okay, great. Cool. And finally, Grant is looking for people to test Notebook 5.0.0 B2. And do we have Grant today? No. All right. So on behalf of Grant, please go check out the Notebook, the B2 release. Oh, and there's some comments getting put in by Matthias. Release candidate 1. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Matthias. Then we have some holdovers from earlier in March and February. So we've got the great readline debate still going on. How's that going, Matthias?
Fernando made a response also this morning. I hope that it will drive people to all go in the same direction.
Okay, good. See how that shakes out. And then finally, would the declarative widgets project like to be part of the new Jupyter widgets? So let's see, last time we talked about, Pete said he wanted to defer to Gino, and I reached out to Gino last week and he said yes. So Sylvan and Gino are working together to migrate a lot of that work over. So I'm gonna check that off. And you were a +1, so that was a yes, right? So we can, Matthias, we can check that off. All right, so we have next our weekly news by organization. I know every week when we get to this section, I say the team leads can highlight some of the information in these links. I don't think that's happening yet. So if you are a team lead, feel free to use this as a tool to update the group. If you're not a team lead, you can obviously click on these links and see what's going on with these different projects, sub-projects. Okay, so on the project management side, so last week I participated, or I taught a lesson in the reproducible science workshop that's co-hosted by Data Carpentry and some folks at Duke. And I taught the data exploration lesson, which was really fun. Had a good time doing that. And then we had a brown bag at Duke with mostly folks from the libraries, so the visualization group at the libraries, and then a bunch of biostatisticians and computational biologists and bioinformaticians. So it was a fun group of people. As far as I'm concerned, my favorite folks, and Carol and Min and Pete joined me on Blue Jeans to field a lot of their questions. So I'm working on a summary of that discussion that I'll share with folks hopefully by today. Just I'm kind of working through, I took a lot of let me just get that out. I took a lot of notes on paper, so I have to just transcribe them. What else do we have here? I'm working with Fernando and Brian to start preparing for the spring 2017 team meeting that Anna just announced. So you guys can, I think, Anna, will you send out any sort of survey in terms of content, or are you seeing that more on our side?
I'm seeing that more on your side, but let's talk about the initial communications. My very first priority is to figure out who's going.
Sure.
But after that, we should definitely be talking about topics in the agenda. So yeah, let's chat about it.
Okay, so probably in a couple weeks, then you guys will see some communications from us in terms of what you hope to accomplish via the dev meeting. And there's some outstanding follow-up from the last dev meeting that has just taken us a long time to process. So that should be out shortly. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to pass by the group is first, do we want to have another team tutorial? Have these been helpful and useful for folks learning about different sub-projects and activities going on with the team and the project? And if so, what would you like to do? So I have I'm keeping a running list of ideas in the project management wiki. So there's a project management repo in the Jupyter org. And then I'm using the wiki to kind of drop ideas and to start creating just a body of knowledge for how the project runs on the project management side, not necessarily governance wise. So feel free to drop ideas in there or reach out to me via email. So maybe in the next meeting, we can look at the list of ideas that we have and choose one. One idea that came up in our dev meeting was to have some sort of newsletter article hack where we would just meet for a set period of time and generate ideas for the newsletters and write draft articles that Anna and the newsletter team can then do copy editing on and send out. So if folks like that idea, let me know. It's a great way to generate content all at once and have kind of a bank of articles that we can draw from. Currency, I guess, is the biggest issue there. So if we write a whole bunch of stuff at once, new things happen on this project all the time. So we would want to, pepper the newsletter with more of the cutting edge work that we're doing and then more of the historical work that we're doing. So just an idea.
Jamie, quick question on that. The last tutorial was on Jupyter Hub, right? That was the topic?
The last tutorial was on project management.
On project management, okay. And then do you have any, that was for our core development team, or who was that for?
It's for anyone who wants to learn about these topics. So
Okay.
If you're interested in seeing, what people are working on in a particular area, you can join in on the tutorial. Yeah, so It's not just to developers. It's anyone who's interested in that part of the project.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, great. And let's see. Finally, Damian wrote, do we need a governance section? There are 2 PRs that are ready to merge. Anyone wants more time to look at them? So I know Brian has been working on updating governance stuff. So there's a governance repo. And I see that so when I think of project management, and I went over this in the tutorial, project management pertains to time-bound work. So things that we decide to do and execute and finish. So governance is more how the project runs overall. So that's why there's 2 different repos for governance and project management. So Damian, to respond to, I think Brian's probably the best person to respond. Not quite sure what your question is. We do have a governance section. And it sounds like
essentially I didn't know where to put the the idea about these PRs that seems to be done by now, and
Yeah.
I didn't have a better place to put it here in the Dropbox paper. So maybe we don't need a governance section on the Dropbox paper, but it's just a way to tell the people to look into those PRs, and if they have any feedback, just put it there
Gotcha.
for mention.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a really good point, because actually over the next couple months, we probably will be updating some of the governance documents based on the discussions we had in the last dev meeting, or the team meeting at Cal Poly. So yeah, I'll add a section to the notes here, and we'll update that section as new information comes through. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good idea. Yeah. So that's all for the project management side. IPython looks like nothing.
Nope,
Head shake,
nothing.
and then off to Hawaii for you. Okay, so Matisse will be on vacation next week. He will not be responding to emails.
I appreciate if someone can take over the writing summaries.
Okay, let's make a decision here. Who wants to do that?
I'll do it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was easy. Next, notebook. Grant, Thomas, and Jason. I don't think any of you guys are here. Jason, you are here. Do you want to give an update on the notebook?
They've been handling the release, so I can't really speak for them on that. But I have been testing it with widgets and running it, on my laptop, and things seem to be working great. So I can't wait for the actual release.
Nice. And Thomas, I noticed you joined too. Did you want to share anything on the notebook side?
Not particularly. I haven't been doing much with that.
Okay, sounds good. Just like to see your face up on the screen. So nice to see you. I like your haircut too. All right, let's see. NB Convert, Mike.
Yeah, so I'm going to be implementing a really simple filtering thing after the meeting this week. That shouldn't take too much longer. And it should deal with a lot of the use cases that people are looking for, and it should be across all of the exporters because I'm doing it in the base level template. And then I have, so this could have gone in the notebook thing, but I'm playing around with figuring out the JS side of getting configuration uploads for like NB convert based exports from within the browser. There's some other things, but I can't remember them at the moment. So those are the two that I want to get done this week.
Great. All right, so next is services. Pete, any updates on your end? Min's traveling today. He was at a conference yesterday, so he's still on travel. Pete's not here, so no updates from Pete. Dashboard. So Pete says in the dashboard section, dashboard and related extensions, he's doing some final sanity testing of the updated extensions again, Notebook 5.0 RC1. When the Notebook 5.0 final is out, he says we can cut releases of the various extensions. Great. And that's all for that section. Next, we have Jupyter Lab, Steve, Darian, and Chris.
Okay. First announcement, we finally got 0.18 out the door. The reason it took so long is we took what was just a blob of code in different directories and made it 50 packages that are now published. So thankfully there's a tool that other folks are using. The Babel folks used it and broke it out from their core as a utility called Lerna that allows you to do exactly what we're doing, and that you have a slew of NPM packages that are all managed together in one repository. It would have been a nightmare without that. So we're very grateful to them for open sourcing that, releasing that as a separate utility. So the biggest thing, the outcome of this is that you can now require the individual components of JupyterLab rather than if you only needed to say the code mirror portion, you don't have to also grab the notebook and everything else that comes with it. So from a third-party use standpoint, it's now more reusable and component-based. And also, it was a requirement for the extension authors in our deduping utility that we're about to make next. We needed not to be importing modules by path, but actually importing whole packages and using that as our unit of deduplicating packages. We tried going down the route of making a module that unit of deduping, but it didn't work. So this was, unfortunately, we had to take a step back, do this. Took a couple months, but now we're ready to press forward, and I think we're pretty close to getting that part done, where we'll have a sensible path forward for extension authors. So yay.
Cool. Way to go.
And let's see what else. Chris released the restore for the main doc panel, and so we're using that. Darian put that into JupyterLab, so now if you hit refresh, it'll actually lay out the widgets as you had them. So that's a stepping stone toward being able to save an application state and refresh it. Also, Ian went and fixed some issues we had with cell undo and and made something called a cell list that takes what used to be an observable list of cells and now is internally a map of cells by ID and then the list of IDs. So it just made a lot cleaner implementation, and it's dovetails into the discussion of how we're going to rectify both real-time and non-real-time models in the application. And I linked to a couple of issues about observable list and observable map and how those relate to real-time. And so it's an ongoing discussion. We'd like to get as close as we can to a stable API around that, at least from the rest of the applications before we hit beta, but we'll do what we can in that regard. Also, Chris added universal context menus to Phosphor, which means you can, so it works similarly to the key map, the keyboard shortcuts, in that you can add content to a selector on the page, an actual DOM selector, and so it'll populate the context menu of the thing that you clicked on in a uniform way. So we're going to take what is the file browser menu and implement it using that, and then we can also use it across the application, so you have universal context menus in the application. The other thing Chris added was document mode, which will enable us to have a single item. So the doc panel becomes the standalone, just one widget at a time, like Zen mode and Sublime. We haven't yet implemented that. So there's two goodies that we have not yet implemented in JupyterLab itself from Phosphor. So those will be coming soon. And that's about it. Thanks.
Cool, thanks. And can I just clarify, our user whose name is Stephen Colbert is Chris? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
My first name's Stephen. Surprise.
I think Chris pronounces it Colbert.
Yeah.
It's not the stage name. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Steve. And Steve. Next, IPyWidgets, Jason and Sylvan.
It's been a busy week. We thought we would hit the road running after the 6.0 release. We haven't had a ton of feedback from 6.0, so I hope it's going well, and we've got our ear to the ground with that. But we do have a bunch of things that we've soldered on. In particular, Martin, I don't know how to say his last name actually, Martin Brettles, has put in a first contribution for him, which was a pretty heavyweight PR to allow binary data to go back and forth between the front end and back end with widgets in a very natural fashion. So congratulations to him, and did an outstanding job. We've also been concentrating a lot on trying to document the actual spec instead of making the implementation. The spec actually pulling it out and making it a formal spec for the widget messaging protocol, as well as the attributes on each model. That exposed a lot of warts that we have in the widget messaging protocol, and so we're going to be working on cleaning those up for IPyWidgets 7. one of these PRs is already in to eliminate the version check for IPyWidgets, which is causing some frustration. We also updated to the latest stack of phosphor packages, so we're compatible, or we will be as soon as we release the new JupyterLab widgets plugin compatible with JupyterLab 18. And we'll probably be moving to the new Jupyter widgets GitHub organization this week. We've just been waiting for a pause in the development activity.
Great. Scrolling. All right, cool. Jupyter Hub. Carol, you want to give us an update?
Sure. First, I did further up on the Docker stacks. I wanted to let people know that last week we added 0.17 of Jupyter Lab to the minimal notebook stack. So folks that were interested in using Jupyter Lab have it a little easier to do that. Min's traveling this week at a conference, and Yuvi and I are working on taking the good stuff that's been done with Data 8 and trying to document that and making a very clean, like from no Google account to deployment document. So that'll be a work in progress as their stuff finalizes. And that's about it, other than maintenance, triage, that kind of stuff.
That's great. Awesome. Next, we have our conferences and outreach. So let's see. Anna made the announcement at the beginning of the meeting that our spring meeting location has been announced. So you can look at the Hackpad. I'm sorry, not the Hackpad, the Dropbox paper notes for more information. And Matthias made a note. There's a Jupyter Day Philly on May 19th. So whenever you guys hear about new events, please go ahead and add them to the GitHub Projects 2017 Jupyter Team Conference and Event Calendar. So I should be displaying that on my screen now. Min's event is over, so it looks like we're finished with events travel for March. And then in April, there are a couple things to be aware of. And then May is insane. So we'll have to work on planning our time wisely in May if we want to keep our pace. So let's see here. Let's stop sharing.
Jamie, can I those events that are posted there? I'll use that to put some of those events into the newsletter also.
Okay,
so
great.
If there's anywhere that you're presenting or something that you want me to highlight for the community in the newsletter specifically, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just kind of look at that and pick from. If I can put all of them in there, I will, just kind of depending on the number. So, but if there's something specific that anyone wants to highlight, they should reach out to me and let me know.
Yeah, and one of the things with this team calendar, Anna, that we talked about doing early on, and just one of those to-do items is to use the Google Calendar API to actually, or even the GitHub API to push the events into the Google Calendar that you maintain.
That'd be nice.
So if that would be helpful, we can continue to look at, how to do that. There are other things that have kind of taken precedence over that, but if it's something that is high on your list, then I can bump that up.
That would be a nice to.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a nice to have thing that I can do to push that up. Let me know, but it's good to have that on my radar.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. So we already announced some of these other things. Codeland, April 21st to 22nd. PyParis is coming up in June. The CFP for SciPy is open, and I think I saw in my email that they extended the deadline a little bit further. So if you haven't submitted to SciPy, you can do so. You have a little more time to do so. PyData Amsterdam is in April, and PyData London is in May. Let's see, JupyterCon core dev tutorials, that was a list that we were keeping. Can I take that out of the notes, folks? Or is it still useful? I think Mike created that.
Fine by me.
Okay, then it'll stay in this week's notes, but when I copy the template over for next week, I'll remove that.
That's great.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so governance. Thank you, Damian. And I think Carol moved that into the notes as a section. So check out those 2 PRs, go ahead and comment on them, and we'll get those merged if they look good. Well, we don't have any action items this week because Ian's not here. So I'll try to go through and grab the action items from the meeting. If you had one, can you please add it before we close off today? And thank you. Releases this week, we had Jupyter Lab 0.18, so awesome. Funny fist bump on that one. And upcoming releases, oh, we are adding Thomas, Notebook 5.0, RC question mark. And then upcoming releases include the Jupyter Dashboards 0.7 and the Jupyter Incubator Dashboards Bundlers, which the version is 0.9, and the Jupyter Incubator Content Management releases 0.70.
We have a notebook coming out this week. I think that was the plan. RC last week and final release this week.
Thomas?
Or Grant.
I posted a couple of issue on the minor issues on the issues that track the release schedule. Mostly clarification on the what's new. Like we say that some things are new, but we don't say how to do them. Like, hey, you can tag cells, and no way of telling users, here is how you can tag cells. Probably doesn't block release, but it would be good to get a look at that.
All right, anything else? Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining today. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye, Internet.